Hi there. Are you a parent who has a daughter who struggles with standing up for herself in friendships? Are you a parent who has a child that might worry a lot about stuff that's happening at school in terms of social relationships, affecting her sleep, her learning, even her general mood, and how much fun she has in life? And if you are, or you know someone who has a child that's kind of going through some of this stuff, this is a great video to watch. My name's Tasha Belix. I'm a registered psychologist who practices in Calgary, and I'm really putting this video together to challenge some of the ways that we raise and socialize girls in our world that I think is actually really harmful to their development. And I don't mean harmful like someone's getting hit physically, but harmful in terms of growing a whole person, someone who has a great connection between what they believe about themselves and what they know is true in their heart and in their body, and how to act on that. And that's the piece where I think girls kind of get the short end of the stick. If we're someone who stands up for ourselves and says what we feel, we sometimes get portrayed as being aggressive or even called a bitch. And I think that is a real disservice to girls in general, because I don't think it's fair. And that doesn't mean that there aren't some places where boys really get failed in our world as well. Yes, there might be permission for a boy to assert himself and not be criticized because of it. But how easy is it for young men in this world, men of any age actually, to talk about some of the things that are softer and harder, things that make them feel sad and make tears want to come out of their eyes, and how they're criticized for that piece. So by no means am I saying boys have a perfect world, but in this particular video, it really is around where are parents, teachers, where is our society failing young women these days? Because once we know where the problem is, we can always do something to change it. If we don't have any awareness over it, we keep doing what we've always done, and the pattern never gets broken. So how do girls hurt each other? I've been doing lots of groups with young girls over many, many years, and I am shocked at how insightful young girls are around. They know darn well what girls do to each other, and we all do it. It by no means is the bully that only does this stuff. All girls can walk into the shoes of being a mean girl sometimes. And wherever you are in the social world, there's good and bad to every place that you are. And I think there's a lot more that actually binds us together in terms of insecurities we might have, and things we worry about, and things we hope for and we wish were different. We know that girls use their relationships with each other as a way to hurt. It's a way that we gain power back. And I always talk about flexing that friendship muscle. So girls roll their eyes and they sigh and they whisper and they have side talk. And it's, yes, they're feeling something. They might feel powerless and they're trying to get some power back. But are you really going to solve the problem unless you put the problem on the table and talk to the person where the issue is really happening? And so this is a big part of what I do in my work. I get phone calls all the time and emails from parents that are really, really worried about their girls, because I run a girls practice. I'm worried about my daughter. She's not eating as much as she used to. She's been having friendship problems this year, and it's really starting to affect her. I'm worried about my daughter. She's crying every day after school. It feels like her friends that used to be loyal to her are kind of pushing her out of the circle, and she doesn't know how to handle it. Email and story again that talk about that same kind of friendship muscle being flexed and someone being really harmed because of it. In all those phone calls and emails, there is one consistent theme, and it is my daughter has no voice. She doesn't know how to speak up for herself. She is feeling something really big, and it is hurting her, and she doesn't know what to do with it. And this story that I've heard over and over again is really what has fueled the passion that I have in my practice to kind of put the problem on the table and look at how can we deconstruct it so that we can raise a different generation of kiddos. And that's really where Between Girls came about. I work lots and lots individually with kids and families around this issue. And to me, let's get you all together in a small, safe group, obviously, but talk about some of these things that we all have in common, and let's practice some of these skills of standing up for ourselves, of knowing that it's okay to feel angry sometimes, and that doesn't make you a weak person or an unkind friend. We need to learn how to be a good friend to ourselves and be equally as kind to ourselves as we are to other people. And I think this is a piece where I think women, because we're caring, nurturing people, it is really easy to put our own needs aside to make sure that we keep the peace and keep someone else happy. And if at the end of the day we are depleted and we're not happy and our mood is affected, then we need to look at maybe that strategy is not so awesome and we can maybe change it around. And like everything, things can always be different. And once we know something, once we have some education around a certain topic, who wouldn't choose it, right? And so that's the piece, I guess, when we think of kids and helping them to grow that part of themselves that is okay about being assertive. Part of it is skill-based for sure. Part of it is what we model to our kids as well. So if we're someone that gossips a little bit, or we're someone that excludes adults from our life, and we're someone that maybe doesn't really like conflict ourselves, is it so unusual that our kids are maybe going to look at our behavior and do what we're doing more so than what we're telling them to do? And so it might be a place for growth on the parent side too. I need to deal with this stuff. I need to learn to deal with conflict better, because I realize that I'm actually planting some seeds in my kids that are actually really affecting them in their social world. So just know that that's a piece of it as well. And nowadays, worlds are more complex than they were before. So parents often say, well, come on, I was a kid. There was bullying back then. It's not, like, really, is it, we've got these soft kids. And I would say possibly that might be a criticism of today's parents. Sure, we pamper our kids probably more than, I was a kid of the 70s. I can tell you I wasn't, my world was not as managed and looked at on a microscopic level as maybe my kids' world might be. There's not as much of a push about what's your plan next, and what are you doing next year, and your 5-year plan and your 10-year plan, and da-da-da-da-da. But a piece that is very different, and a piece that, I'm 43 years old, that I didn't have to deal with as a kid, was if something was going wrong at school, someone, I guess, could have picked up the phone and talked about it. Maybe someone wrote a note and threw it around the classroom, but it wasn't immediate, and it wasn't through the whole school or my whole town or my whole world the way that it is nowadays with kids and social media. And the hurt that kids experience so quickly and so pervasively because of what goes online is a piece that's very different, and it can't be minimized because the damage that it can cause is so huge. Imagine you're a young person that feels like things don't feel really stable with your friends already, and you're getting weird vibes about, they say that they like you and they're happy, and you're included in things sometimes at school, but there's a part of you that doesn't feel like it's quite right. And you go home and you look on Instagram on Saturday and you realize that there's been a sleepover with people who you thought were your friends, but you weren't invited, and how devastating that is. It's okay that you feel devastated about it. It is understandable. It's also okay that maybe they didn't invite you to that party, but what you do with that feeling is really, really important. If you're the person that goes, Mom, Dad, this isn't fair. I can't believe that this happened to me. Like, I'm so sad about it. You're feeling a feeling. You're getting it off your chest. You're having a chance to process it. You're not alone with it. But what happens often is these little hurts happen, and people keep it to themselves. And when you feel feelings, we need to do something with it. And in those moments, and if it's happens repeatedly over and over again, where you have these hurts and you push it down, this is where not so nice things happen. People start believing things about themselves, about what what they're worth, what they deserve in a friendship. They might go along with relationships that aren't as healthy because at least it's someone that's paying attention to me. And this is the stuff that is so incredibly hurtful and so scary and worrisome when you see it happening in your own house or in your classroom with the kids that you teach. So I think that social media piece is something that parents and schools and small groups and youth groups need to talk to young people about, how they manage themselves online. And there's a lot of like, this follows you forever, fear-mongering stuff. But really think about who you are and who you want to be in this world, because all those little things that you choose to do kind of build into your character, your reputation, how much you kind of love yourself, and who you attract into your world as well. And it is fine if you've made a mistake, and everyone does. But at some point, you need to own up to it, and you need to let yourself feel that yuckiness and shame and make it a heartfelt apology to the person that you've hurt. And all that stuff does not happen online. It happens face to face, so people can see the remorse, so you can really look in the person's eyes, they hear your tone of voice, and you can hear their perspective too. And it may be uncomfortable, but man, that's a place where a relationship can get to a far better place if you can be honest and real about things. And that's the piece that I think our kids, because we're doing so much superficial talk, that deep conversation and really feeling our feelings and expressing them with someone else. And if there has been a mistake or an injury or a misunderstanding, to have a chance to talk about it and get down to it, maybe using like an iMessage around how you feel about things, and have someone kind of reflect back what it might be like being you in your shoes, so you can get to a resolution that feels good. That is not someone that's scared of conflict. That's not someone that's scared of making mistakes. That's someone who is born ready to thrive in this world. You cannot be successful in this planet that we live in. We are humans. We're connected through social relationships. If you can't figure out your relationship with yourself first, and that, I guess, is kind of the message I'm going to end with. Let's teach our kids to learn how to have a healthy relationship with him or herself first, so that they can go into our family and into the larger world, being able to have healthy relationships with others. But the me part of it cannot be denied. So as a parting thought, I guess, if you want to learn more about workshops that I offer, between girls groups that myself and my facilitators can bring to schools or to your youth group, or even have us into a sports team to talk to a group of young girls about how they want to handle themselves and what kind of leader, who they want to be in this world, we are happy to do that. I'm also a counselor, so if you want any information about that stuff as well, it's all on my website, www.tashabelix.com. If what I talked about triggered something for you, ignited a passion, makes you want to rant about something, or makes you want to join a cause to help grow a stronger group of girls, ones where anger is something that is celebrated and something that we are taught how to get into conflict with each other and actually get to resolution, I am so open to your thoughts and feedback. Send them to me. I love it. Until next time, I encourage you to breathe, feel your feelings, talk about them, and be well.